Welcome to Atp Live. We are starting at 6. I'm just starting a couple of minutes early so that I can share the video to the right places. So welcome to Atp Live, everyone. Welcome. I'm just going to use the remaining 2 minutes to share the videos to all the platforms and make sure everyone can hear me and they can see me. All right, good. Let's see, TP Live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Atp Live Monday. All right, I need to refresh my video. Okay, good. I can see myself now. Okay, welcome everyone. If you're just joining, welcome to Atp Live Monday. And this is where you get to ask any questions you may have about the health issue of your children. So welcome. And please help me to share the video, share to all the platforms. Good evening, Loretta. Loretta, you're joining us today. Long time. Nice to see you. Been a while. Welcome. Loretta is one of our ATP interns last year. All right, welcome everyone. So please share the video, share to any platform where you are allowed to share it to, and invite your friends and family. Anyone who have any questions that they would like to ask a pediatrician, this is an opportunity for them to ask live and get the answers straight away live as well, between now and 7 p.m. So we will try and do that. Of course, if you I don't know what I'm doing. Okay. So if you want to ask your question, you can always ask on any of our platforms, Mondays to Saturday. But if you want to get your answers live, then you can do that now, between now and 7 p.m. That is when we do live Q&As on children health issues, hopefully, because I'm a pediatrician, so I can only help you with your children health issues and not other issues. All right, so welcome everyone. I think I've shared it to all the platforms now, hopefully. Let me just check and make sure I pin them as well. Okay, yeah, I think so. So please start to drop your questions so that we can answer them promptly and we don't have to wait and start running at 7 p.m. I'm always not happy when I have to go away without answering some questions that come in last minute. So if you try and answer the questions early, then I will be able to do that. Yeah, I think I'm done now. Okay, so I'm done with all the questions, all the pinning. Facebook people, I can see your comments, so I hope you can see me. If you are there, just let me know you are there. Drop some comments and just be sure that there's no technical itch going on. All right, so let me start formally, officially. Good evening, everyone. I am Dr. Bemisola Boyede. I'm a pediatrician, CEO, Ask the Pediatricians Foundation, and I want to specially welcome you all to ATP Live Monday. ATP Live is just an hour program where you get to interface and ask your questions directly from me, and I can answer them as well. So it's one of our initiative on Ask the Pediatricians Foundation to ensure that, Facebook people, I can see you now. Please just keep dropping the comments. So it's our initiative to make sure that we reduce unnecessary deaths of children um, in Nigeria and Africa. So we are committed to making sure that no child should die from preventable causes of death. So we do that through health education, information, online and offline. So we also do community medical outreaches, and I'm sure some of you have been partaker of our community outreaches offline as well and online, because we actually did our online outreach in May, and we saw over I think 450 people registered, at least when we closed the register, and I'm sure we saw like 90% of them. So thank you so much for everyone for joining us. So feel free to ask your questions now. Please, when you start answering your question, please start with the age of the child. Just some housekeeping rules. Start with the age of the child. It is so important for me to know the age of the child, because the answers I give may be different depending on the age of the child. And also try and keep it short and simple. Don't go on and on. And please ask questions. Don't just tell me the story of your child. If you don't ask a question, I'm not going to assume any. So please ask questions. And what else? If you're asking about like the weights and things like that, please tell me what the weight is. Don't just say, oh, my child is slim, my child is looking like a 1-year-old or a 2-year-old when he's 5-year-old. Just tell me the weights. That is more objective and easier for me to work with. And I think that is it. If you have questions that involve showing me pictures, you'll be able to do that on this live platform. So you may have to go to our Facebook group, Ask the Pediatricians Facebook group, or ACP Family. You can post your questions there. Monday to Saturdays, we are always there, and we will always answer your question. We don't take question and answer on Sundays. Every Sunday, people will see posts and ask, and they'll be wondering, why can't I find a place to post my question? And I'm like, I always say this all the time. It's in our welcome post, it's everywhere, but obviously many people always miss it out. So you can't post on our group on Sundays, but you can ask me live questions Mondays 6 to 7, or you can post your questions on our Facebook group from Mondays to Saturdays. All right, so enough of the intro. I'm going to start now. I have a lot of questions coming in on Instagram, so I'll start with Instagram, then we'll come back to Facebook. Somebody said we have problem on Facebook. What's the problem you're having with Facebook? I can't see. Just let me know what the problem is so I can solve it. All right, if it's something I can deal with. All right, let's start with Instagram people. Instagram people are here today. Praise God. They didn't join last week. All right. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Sorry, I won't be able to mention everybody's name, but I can see you all. Good evening. Maybe I'll do a wave to everybody I can see. Thank you so much for joining us. Good evening, Loretta. All right. Good evening, everyone. All right. Okay, they might try to answer the more they answer if people keep joining. So let me just go to the questions. All right. Okay. Good evening, start by Rima. It's almost right. Good evening. Okay, okay, for Mary. Oh no, Okora for Mary. Good evening, Ma. I'm so worried my baby doesn't get enough sleep. And he's so slim. Okay, I think Mary, you're like, I think you didn't get my initial introduction before you ask the questions. Because of you, I made that kind of introduction. So start first by telling me, because you seem to just break all those rules straight away in one paragraph. Start with the age of your child. Okay, I need to know the age of your child. And you also say she's slim, but she's healthy. I need to know the weight of the child and whether you're worried about the weight. And you didn't ask any question. You just say, I'm so worried. That doesn't mean anything. Mothers are always worried. I think it's part of your job description to be worried as a mother. But you have to tell me what exactly is it you want me to address. What is the question? So your child doesn't get enough sleep. How many hours sleep does the child get? I need to know that. That's for me, because your child may be getting 15 hours sleep, and that may not be enough in your own estimate, but that may be more than enough for me as a pediatrician. So always ask very specific questions, always provide very specific information. I know that as parents, as mothers, we are always very emotional about children, but the doctors will always work with facts and figures. So we need the actual facts and figures. That is more useful for us to be able to address your question. So I know you've asked a question before I made my announcement. So please repost your question and put in all those figures now, then I'll be able to answer them. All right. Good to see you, Loretta. Um, all right. So gifted AB say, what is the measurement for cold for a 9-month-old? For cold, I always also like to ask what you mean by cold, but I want to assume you mean cough and catarrh. Is that what you mean by cold? I hope I'm right. If I'm wrong, just let me know, because it can also mean that your baby's body is cold, not like baby's not hot. So I always like to be careful. So if it is cold and cough and cold, catarrh in babies 9 months old, most of them are due to viruses. So in other words, there's really no remedy. They don't need any specific treatment. So what we normally just say is that if the child is like cold to touch, you keep them warm, because I always like to say that now, because before I used to keep them warm, and some people say, oh, my child is sweating so much. So in other words, the child is already hot or warm and the mother is now trying to keep warm. So when we use the word keep warm, we assume that the child is not warm, the child is cold. Maybe the hands and feet are cold, so you can wear extra layers of clothing for them. But if the child is already warm, you're already wearing those, you don't need to, make them hotter. So that, just to make sure we are clear on the same page. Then just give them lots of fluid, let the child be breastfeeding and all that. Most of those schools will run their course usually for 10 to 14 days and it will clear. So there's really no need to give them any drugs, antibiotics, nothing. No, you don't need to do that. But if your child is not having fever, or your child is coughing, or your child is breathing fast, then that is no longer just ordinary cold. That child may be developing what we call pneumonia. And that case, you really need to take the child to the hospital, because that child will need antibiotics treatment. So, and pneumonia is one of the commonest killers of our children below the age of 5. So any child who is having fever, fast breathing, difficulty with breathing, in addition to cough and colds and all that, or catarrh, you need to take those ones to the hospital. All right. So gifted say, your baby is active, no temperature. Okay, just the running nose. Okay, I didn't finish reading your question, so sorry, don't mind me. I also jump sometimes. So just the running nose and cough. Okay, so I get your point now. And so yes, so just keep warm, keep giving fluids, breastfeeding, and the child will be fine. All right. So Okora, for now, you've added your answer. Your baby is 5 months old and she doesn't get enough sleep. How many hours of sleep in the 24 hours? It's very important for me to know that how many hours of sleep and what is the current weight of your baby. So just let me know that. And what is your worry? What is your question? I guess you are worried that your baby is not getting enough hours of sleep. Is it like, how do you increase the hours, or what do you do? You have to ask specific questions so I will know the answer to give. Okay, Adejumoke said, good evening, doctor. I have a 3-week-old who grunts always. So parents use that word grunt a lot, but it's a word that will scare any pediatrician when you use it. But most time when people use it, you don't really mean it the way we understand grunting, because grunting is a child who is having difficulty with breathing and they're making this noise as if they have done breathing down. So, but most mothers, if you can correct me if I'm wrong, but most of the mothers just make use of that word because when their children want to pass through or during this strain, they made us that kind of sound. We don't call that grunting. It's more like straining. And most of the time, there's really nothing wrong. The stool will still be soft stool. It's not hard. It's just an habit for children, and usually for those ones, it's nothing to worry about. Just ignore. Just keep breastfeeding your baby. So I did okay. If that is what you meant, I hope I've answered. If that's not what you meant, you can ask more to clarify it. All right. So I think I'll take a break from Instagram and come back. Okorafor, please react your question, because I know you have not answered your question. Okay, somebody is complaining about not seeing comment on our Facebook group. So this is just a technical issue. Facebook do make a lot of changes at times to their platforms, to how they run things. So if you cannot see comments in our group, trust me, it is not ATP's fault. It is has to do with Facebook, and you are one of those people who are not seeing it. Other people are seeing the comments. Number one, they prefer you use the full Facebook app. Some of you are using Facebook Lite, and so when there's an update or something, or all those things that Facebook do from time to time, it may affect those of you who are using the Facebook Lite. So maybe that's why. So for go and use the full Facebook app. Download the full app to really enjoy Facebook groups. You need the full app. That's number one. Number two, make sure you click on the comments. Sometimes the comment just needs to drop down. So if you don't click on it, you won't see it drop down. So make sure you click on it. Make sure you are in the group, because some of you are used to seeing your Facebook posts on your timelines, and then if you are seeing it on your timeline, you may not see the comment, but you only see the post. So if you go into the group, then you will see all the comments drop down. So you make sure you are inside our group, make sure you are using full Facebook app, make sure you click on the comment section. So if you do all that and you can't see comments, then it is something you have to sort personally with Facebook and not us. So, but we are always approving posts, and we always drop comments on every post that we approve. So if you're not seeing comments on posts, then it is something, and you can actually drop a comment, because you drop a comment on this post. So that shows that you can drop comments and you can see the comments you dropped. So it is those Facebook posts that we don't want you to comment on, which we normally lock after we've commented on them. But for you to see them, you need to click on the comments for it to drop down, and you have to be in our group, and you have to be using the full Facebook app. So I hope that's helpful. All right. The next person, good evening. My daughter is a month old. She always squeezes her body when she sleeps. There's nothing wrong with that. Babies do that a lot. They make all this squeezing. Right? It's all those ones are normal, and I'm sure you must be a first-time mother when you ask this kind of question. And everything is not, you have to give a remedy. People, when you see something, the first thing you need to decide first is it normal or abnormal. Don't jump to, is there a remedy? Not everything is remedy. And even for some things, even if it's abnormal, sometimes it doesn't need any remedy as well. Everything does not need medication. People always ask that questions. My baby has this, has that. What do I give? No, you don't always have to give something. We have to let that mindset go. I always use every opportunity I have to correct that. So it is not everything that needs for you to do something. I know parents, as parents, we're always used to fixing things and everything must be fixed. No, everything does not need to be fixed. Some things are actually normal, or some things are not normal, or they are not something we worry about. So they don't need to be fixed. So sometimes some things you just ignore. So you don't need to worry about that. Okay, all right. Somebody says it's okay now. All right, great. Good evening, ma'am. My daughter is going to be nine what? 9 months, 9 years, 9 days. Always specify the denomination. No, that's not the right word. Always specify the particular sake of time you're using. Don't just say my baby will be 1, my baby will be 2. It doesn't really make any meaning to a pediatrician. You have to tell us whether it's 9 days or 9 months or 9 years or 9 weeks or 9 seconds or 9 minutes, because we see children in all the categories. So always be very specific. But I'm assuming this is 9 years, because you say your baby is weighing 52 kilos and she is like other siblings. What can you do to bring her weight down? So the first thing is to make sure she's eating healthy. A 9-year-old should be weighing 927, 63. I'm working out what your child should be weighing. That should be 57 divided by 2. So your child should be weighing like 28 kilos, thereabout. So if your child is weighing 52, that's quite a lot. So you need to see a pediatrician, because everything is not about food. Some children actually have a medical condition that is making them to be overweight, and obviously you're already sensing that, because you say she's eating the same like her siblings, she's not eating junk food. So why is she overweight? So you have to see a pediatrician, preferably a pediatric endocrinologist. They will do other tests. Will do, is there a medical condition? Are there people in your family like that who are also very big? Is there a medical condition? There are some hormonal issues, some medical issues, some syndromes that can make a child overweight and all that. So we don't go from uh, what do I do to bring the weight down? We go from what is causing this problem. So that is how doctors do their work. When we see a problem, the first thing to do is not to quickly jump to any solution, which is what parents do when you tell them, maybe has the right, you just say, go and use this. No, that is not how medical processes work. We need to first know, why is your child overweight? Because that's what we need to address. So we address the underlying cause, and that sometimes it takes care. So if your child is not eating junk food, your child is eating healthy, lots of fruits and veggies, smaller portions, and your child is overweight, then we have to look for what is, because this is not just like the child is slightly 2 kilos overweight or 3 kilos overweight. This child is over like 20 kilos, yes, 20 kilos above our expected weight. That is quite a lot. So there may be something going on here that we need to figure out and we need to address. So I will encourage you to see, you can go to a pediatrician, probably in a teaching hospital, you can see a pediatric endocrinologist. They will do all the hormonal profile, do everything, and then they will be able to advise. So of course, the normal thing we recommend for weight, eat healthy, exercise, and all that. You can keep doing that while we also figure out whether there's something else going on. All right. Doreen say, my daughter is 20 months. I'm currently weight 13.5. What is your question, Doreen? You've not asked any question. If you're asking whether your weight, okay, I think you have more questions. Okay. She's having cough, running nose, vomiting, stooling. Started 3 days ago. What could be the cause? And what is the remedy? Okay. If your child is having cough, running nose, that would be a viral infection, vomiting, stooling. They all be parts of that infection. But we are only suspecting that maybe what is wrong. You didn't tell us. So there are, when we see children, there are other questions we are going to ask you now. Is your child having fever? Is your child having difficulty with breathing? All those kind of questions which you have not told me now. So I'm only suspecting based on what you wrote. So if your child is sick, the best thing is to take the child to the hospital, especially when the child has multiple symptoms. So if your child is having stooling, you can give ORS, but I'm assuming that a child who is vomiting may not be able to tolerate the ORS as well. So this child needs to go to the hospital for a proper holistic evaluation, and then you can get the right treatment. But you can start first aid, give ORS for the diarrhea, oral zinc, and all that. But if the child is really not able to tolerate the ORS and is vomiting, the child is having fever, the child is having difficulty with breathing, other issues, this child is sick, this child has to go to the hospital, this child needs to see a doctor and get properly treated. And this has been going on for 3 days. So usually when things is going on for 1 day, you may decide, okay, I want to watch and all that. But when something is going for 2-3 days, your child is not better, you have to go to the hospital. That is why hospital exists, to treat sick children, and we should not be waiting unnecessarily or wasting time. If a child has been sick for more than 2-3 days, we have to go to the hospital and let a doctor see and treat. Okay, so Doreen, how you do that? Somebody say my pulse on my nipples are not bringing out milk as expected. As Omashalewa, I have scrubbed nipples to open the pulse, but still the same. How do you know your pulse are not bringing out milk as expected? All right, so the way to know is to press your milk, okay? And there's a way you have to press it. You have to press in the right place. You have to press the areola, because that is where the milk sinuses are. So, and the fact that you press and you think the milk is not really gushing out like a tap does not mean that the milk is not flowing, because when babies suck, it's an active process. They are like extracting the milk. It is not like it just like you are using a breast pump. It is not the same process like you just pressing alone. So a baby sucking is like using a pump out of the milk. So the fact that you don't see the milk gushing out of your nipple does not mean the milk is not flowing. So the most important thing is to put your baby to the breast and let your baby suck on the breast, okay? And you can also pump your breast with breast breast pump, both manual and electric, or you can even use your hands. But for you to use your hands, I will recommend Habiru that you are in our Facebook page, go to the video section, look for our breastfeeding videos, look at them, look at the one on how to express breast milk so you can see it. So there's nothing blocking your nipples or all the pores, but the milks are there. The most important thing is that your baby suck on the nipple and the milk is coming out. And your baby is gaining weight. Your baby has gained almost 1.5 kilos. Your baby is getting breast milk. Your baby is not going to gain weight if no milk is coming out. Okay. So the weight of the baby is an objective evidence to the pediatrician that this baby is getting milk. So whether you think your nipple is not the milk is not coming out from your nipple or not, your baby is obviously sucking milk, because a baby who is not sucking milk, who is not gaining weight, will not gain weight, and we will see that. So we rely more on the weight of the child to decide, unless you are doing mixed feeding. You didn't tell us whether you are doing exclusive breastfeeding or not. So let me not jump to gun. So if you are doing exclusive breastfeeding and your baby is gaining weight, then that is fine. So, but like I said, you can watch all our breastfeeding videos, and then you're going to get all those information. All right. I'm all with me, Rebecca. My baby is 5 months, 1 week. His gum is a little bit hot when breastfeeding. There's something to worry about that. It's not the gum that decide whether the child is hot or not. Usually the internal core temperature is usually hotter than the external. So the way you feel on the inside, just the same way when you pass urine, your urine is hot. It's exactly the same way you're feeling the mouth of your baby being hot on your body. But that does not mean that you're having fever. So if you worry that maybe your baby is having fever, then just get a thermometer. I've already mentioned that all of us must have a digital thermometer. You must have that thermometer at home every minute of the day. So just get one. You can put it in the mouth, you can put it on the armpit, depending on the type you are buying, and then you can check the temperature. As long as temperature is not above 37.5, then the child is fine. So is this normal? Doesn't mean anything. There's nothing wrong with your baby. If you think your baby has fever, use the thermometer, and you can use that to guess the baby's weight. The weight of your baby is okay, Abiru. The weight of the baby is okay. All right, let's go on. Abidemi say thank you. You're welcome. Doreen said no fever, but running nose. She's having difficulty with breathing. You need to take this child to the hospital. You need to take the baby to the hospital. All right, great. Okay, let's come back to Instagram people. I hope they are here. Okay, I can't see any question on Instagram. Okay, no question on Instagram. Okay, so if you still have any question, feel free to drop your question. I'm still here till 7 p.m. to answer all the questions that we may have about the health of our children, and also to let us know next month, August 1st to August 8th is our breastfeeding week. So we'll be taking time to discuss more about breastfeeding and everything. So that will be the time for us to ask, demonstrate, and show us everything we need to know about breastfeeding. All right. Okay. So if you want to learn more about health issues of children, we have so many other platforms which you can learn. We have our website, so I'm going to recommend you visit our website, www.askthepediatricians.com. You can read a lot of topics, all these questions we're asking about cough, cancer, respiratory infections, jaundice, breastfeeding, weight, overweight, underweight, malnutrition. You can read about all these topics on our website. Also, I have a podcast, Ask Dr. Mimi ATP podcast. It's available on Spotify, Google Music, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and most other podcast platform. Just Google it, Ask Dr. Mimi ATP podcast, and you can also listen. If you are the type that prefer to listen than read, you can listen. So if you can read, ATP website, www.askthepediatricians.com. If you rather listen, podcast, Ask Dr. Baby ATP podcast. If you rather watch, you can go to our YouTube channel, ATP TV, ATP TVEE, or just Google Ask the Pediatricians Foundation YouTube. Then you can get our YouTube channel. Then you can watch all these videos of ATP Live Mondays and all the ATP hours where we actually discuss specific topics and every other teachings that we've done about every topic possible, important topic possible in child health issues. You can watch them on our YouTube channels. So after reading, watching, or listening, if you have questions, then you can post your questions on our Facebook group, Ask the Pediatrician Facebook group, Mondays to Saturdays, every week, every day. Apart from Sundays, we are always there to answer your questions. And your questions, the difference between our group and any other group where you are going to post your question is the answer you're going to get from our group is a professional backed answer. These are answers from a pediatrician or from a pediatrician perspective. So it's not like any other group or mothers group run by mothers for mothers where it's a democracy of opinion. No, you're not going to get a democracy of opinion on ATP. You're only going to get a pediatrician's perspective on any issue. So that is the unique thing about our group. And you will notice that if you come to our Facebook group, after we finish giving you the answer, we lock it up so that we don't want people to be dropping their comments and getting you confused, because that is what we see with many other platforms that are trying to help moms. So somebody just posts a question and 1,000 mothers are going to give 1,000 different answers, and the person end up getting more confused at the end than at the beginning. So that is why we lock our comment section, so that you answer you get is only what you will get if you see a pediatrician in the hospital or in the clinic, so you can be confident in it. You don't have to follow it. I always tell people our role is to tell you what we think as pediatricians. It's your decision whether you follow it or not, or whether you decide to go with other fellow mothers telling you what to do. We have no control over that, but definitely you will not want for getting that professional opinion. You will get a professional opinion, but whether you follow it or not, that is on you and not on us. All right, so thank you. All right, so more questions coming. What can make a talking baby stop talking after recovering from an illness? So this question is too generic. So it's better you tell me, one, what is the age of the child, what illness does the child have, and then I'll be able to answer, because there's a lot of assumptions packed into it. Number one, you're assuming it's the illness that made the child to stop talking. It may not be. It may not even be related at all. It may be coincidence. So, but there are illnesses, especially if it's a neurological illness. For example, a child who had meningitis, a child who has cerebral malaria, anything that affects the brain, basically, if the child can have what we call regression of milestones. So things that the child were doing before, they will stop doing them after the illness. It is a complication of that illness. So that is why it's important to know the age of the child. Of course, it has to be in a child who is still maybe under 5, and also or even for older children, if they suffer like severe head injury, severe brain injury for whatever reasons, either from infection, from accidents, and all that, it can lead to damage to the part of the brain that controls speech, and the child may develop may lose the skills. It's not only talking. Sometimes the children will not be able to walk again. Sometimes they will recover, and sometimes they may not recover, depending on what the illness is. So that is what happens. So any illness or injury that affects the brain can cause that scenario. So I don't know this particular, because it's just a generic one, so I won't be able to give very detailed answer. All right, Darren, I hope that helps. Arofia Hebunluwa Honi, my breast isn't producing enough milk. Okay, what could be the cause? When you make statement like that, I want to verify your statement. When you say your breast is not producing enough milk, I want to know, how did you know your breast is not producing enough milk? How do you know how much milk your breast should produce in the first place for you to now know it is not producing enough milk? And your baby is already 15 months old. For a baby who is 15 months old, you're already feeding with other food. You're even giving formula, you are giving other milk. So at this age, I mean, I'm not really sure of how you want to gauge enough of breast milk. Number one, breast milk is not enough for a 15 month old. Your 15 month old needs to eat other food. Your 15 month old needs to take other sorts of food and drinks and all that. So, and the more you feed your child, because breast milk economy is demand and supply. So, the more demand on breast milk, the more the milk is produced. So, for your 15 month old who is already eating all the other food, you're obviously not breastfeeding as much as you would have been doing when your baby was 6 months or less than 6 months and only taking breast milk. So this child is eating the full family food, I hope. That's what I'm assuming. And that child is not likely going to be sucking as much, which means that you are also not going to produce as much because the nature does not tolerate waste. So if your baby is not demanding as much breastfeeding and you are giving more of the complementary food, then your breast is also not going to be, your breast milk will also start drying up. So you are more or less weaning your child. Okay, but if you are still breastfeeding like you used to, and you are available, you are not the working mom that is gone from 9 to 5 and only come to breastfeed at night, then there's no reason why your milk should not be produce. So it depends on how much demand your baby makes on your breast milk. But at 15 months, that is not a problem because we said that this child should be eating other food. So breast milk is not the priority for a 15-month old. But we want you to keep breastfeeding because of all that things that we get from breast milk, the protection from illnesses and all that. So we recommend that you keep breastfeeding up to 2 years and beyond, but we are not looking at it from the point of feeding the child's tummy or food. We're looking at it from the point of illness protection, protection against allergies and stuff like that. There are other benefits of breastfeeding, but at this time, it's not about the weight or nutrition because you're going to get that more from complementary feeding. It is more from other like other things like the antibodies, all those other agents that keep your child protected from illnesses and things that help with the brain development. Those are the things we're really concerned about for a 15-month-old. Rafia, I hope that is helpful. All right. Okay. So, Doreen Shinoye, you could just tell me the illness. There's no point for you to tell me the illness is not related to the head or brain injuries. You tell me the illness and I will decide whether it's related or not. I think that's better. But obviously, if it's not something you want to talk about, that is fine. What I'll recommend is that you speak to your doctors first, because sometimes you may think this is the illness my child has, but that is not the illness your child has. Some of you always think every child has malaria and typhoid. Some children actually have meningitis, and that is why they are having brain injury. But because the assumption is this is malaria, so, but you should have that conversation, because if a child is 20 months old, was having an illness, and lose what we call milestones, we have to think of something affecting the brain. It doesn't matter what other diagnosis doctor has made. This is a child that has to be evaluated and make sure that this child does not have any illnesses that could affect the brain. And for children, it's not everything that is in your face. Sometimes we have to look for it for you to get it. So I really strongly recommend that this child must see a pediatrician for proper evaluation, because that's symptom or sign that you just gave is a very big flag. If a child who is talking became ill, stop talking, we are worried. This child needs to see a pediatrician. This child needs to be in the hospital. So it's very important that you do that. All right. Aribigbola. Okay. Okay, before I go to Aribigbola, I'll stick on Doreen. But like I told you earlier, it's also possible for that issue, the child stop talking, not to be related to the illness. You may be the one bringing him that link. It's possible the child is also going to stop talking anyway, which happens in children with autism, for example. In other words, it has something to do with the illness the child is having. So let me just put that caveat there as well. But you are the one telling us now. So that is actually why a pediatrician needs to say, because the pediatrician will be able to make all these how do we call it, like separates them from each other. So but just see the colleague, a pediatrician, and they will take it up from there. Okay, so doctor, my baby is on breastfeeding strike. What is breastfeeding strike? The last time she had breastfeeding was yesterday night. I'm on EBF. She's just 4 months. If a child stops sucking, it's a serious symptom, especially in a child who is on exclusive breastfeeding. So you've never used bottle, you've never used formula, and your child stops sucking, you have to take that child to the hospital. It's not a good sign. It means the child is sick. That's the only thing that will make a baby stop sucking. The child is ill. In a child who is otherwise well, there's nothing that will make them stop sucking. So if your child is not sucking formula, not sucking bottle, no, so why would the child stop sucking? So if a child stops sucking, we pediatricians, we are worried about it. Yes, I am worried. You should be worried. You should take that child to the hospital. And the child has not sucked since yesterday night. This is another Monday night. So that's over 24 hours of not sucking. If I'm taking your word literally, this child has not stopped for 24 hours. So what has the child eating for 24 hours? That child will go hypoglycemic. So this child has to be taken to the hospital. We need to know why the child is not sucking, what is going on, and we need to deal with it. So it's an emergency. Okay, but you say your baby is okay. Your baby okay, but you say you've never given birth to. So well, don't confuse us. So your first post say I have never used feeding bottle for her, but you now went down and say I expressed in a bottle and she collected it. Now I'm confused because when you told me your first post, you said you've never used bottle. So I'm assuming that this child has not sucked anything because you've not used bottle and your child is not breastfeeding. That means child has not sucked anything. But if you are giving her bottle, then that means if your baby is able to suck from bottle and not from your breast, then it means your breastfeeding technique is a problem. It's called what we call nipple confusion. Okay, it means your attachment of the baby to the breast has issue because your baby should not be sucking on your nipple. Your baby should be sucking on mostly the areola. The areola is the I wish I have a model to explain. So the nipple is the part of the breast that juts out, that part that is pointing, and the part beyond that nipple is the black part. We call it areola. So when you're giving your baby breast milk, they should put their mouth on the areola, not the nipple. Most people just put the nipple in the mouth, or the babies themselves, they just rush and grab the nipple. You should make sure they don't do that. You need to watch our videos on attaching your baby to the breast. So you need to make sure that when you want to suck, the mouth is open wide and you put as much as you can, the whole breast in the mouth, so that you should barely see your areola when you're breastfeeding. So your baby is sucking on the nipple, then the milk will flow, and then the baby will be fine. But if your baby suck on the nipple, no milk will flow, then baby will be frustrated. So this baby sucking on the bottle but not sucking on the breast is a typical example of what we call nipple confusion. So baby wants to suck, but when baby is sucking on your nipple, nothing is coming out. The baby is frustrated. So the baby doesn't want to stress him or herself. You say boy or girl, taking from girl. So she doesn't want to stress herself, taking from your nipple, but we'll take from a bottle because it's less stressful. But I'm really confused because you say you've never given her feeding bottle, but in the next minute you tell me you're not giving her bottle. So I'm confused about this scenario. So it's not clear. But because if you have always given your baby breast milk, there's no reason why your baby will be taking bottle if this is the first time you're giving bottle. So the baby will not suck on the breast and then will suddenly start sucking the bottle. So anyway, that's what I think may be going on. So you make sure you are doing your breastfeeding appropriately. All right. So yeah, so I think you need to there's something wrong with technique. If your baby is otherwise well, then there's something wrong with the breastfeeding technique. So you need to put your babies back to the breast. You need to put your baby back to the breast because if not, you're going to run into more trouble because your milk will start dropping. And so make sure your baby keeps sucking because it's that sucking of the baby that keeps the breast milk flowing. But try and put the baby to the breast. Make sure you attach baby properly to the breast and all that. So that's that. But if your baby keep refusing to suck, then you please go to the hospital so that we're sure there's also nothing wrong. But default position is that your baby will suck from the nipple, I mean from the bottle, then it's not a bottle problem, it's not a milk problem, it is a teeth problem. So it's about how the milk gets to the baby. All right, let's leave that. Doreen said my baby was talking within 11 to 15 months like that, mama, baba. Okay, I guess. Okay, Doreen, I think you've understood the various expression now. Okay. All right. So I think I've answered all that. Thank you. Let me see whether I have any question. Okay. From Instagram, style by Rema. Let me go back. I hope I've not jumped somebody's people's question. I've jumped a lot. So sorry. Oh. Hey, yeah. Let me come back. Yes. Okay. Okay. So Adejumoke is asking that you have your three. I thought you asked your question on Instagram. Were you on Facebook or Instagram, or you're on both? Because I thought your question, the first question you asked was on Facebook. Okay, I guess you're on both. Okay. I have a 3 so how do I help out with the gas? So they will pass the gas. You don't need to do anything. You can just bop them a little bit. But the most important thing is to make sure they don't get too much of gas into their tummy. So don't wait for people to cry and cry before you give them breast milk. Avoid bottle feeding because most of them suck, especially when you finish sucking the milk from the bottle, then they suck the gas as well. So those are the things that make babies to have a lot of gas in their tummy. So you try and reduce it. You can't completely eliminate it, reduce it. And then when your baby has finished breastfeeding, you can rub their back gently to help them bring up the gas. But most of the time they will do it by themselves. All right. I hope that's helpful. Okay, the next question. Style by Rima. My baby, 6 month old baby, is passing mucus too. Some days after I gave her complimentary food. Okay, what complimentary food did you give? She put like 5 times a day, and when she was on exclusive, she had the post. So what food did you give? That's the most important question I need. That's the most important information we need to know. We need to know what you gave. Okay, you gave pap, nan milk, and peanut butter. Okay, let's start by saying when you want to start complimentary food, do not give too many things at the same time. You need to be sure your child is not allergic to anything before you keep giving. All right. So when you start with the pap, that is fine. You can give pap, but when you want to add, if you I would rather say that for the first time you can still use your breast milk. Your baby doesn't need any extra formula. Your breast milk is enough. So but if you want to give other milk, you can have the milk, but don't have the milk and add peanut butter. That's too many things at the same time. Some children are allergic to nuts, to the peanuts. So how do we know your child is not reacting to the nuts? So now we don't know whether your child is reacting to the nuts or whether your child is reacting to the formula that you added. So please do it one new thing at a time. One new thing at a time. So you give a little bit of each first and see that there's no reaction. For like the peanut butter, for example, you can just put the peanut butter in the mouth of the child or even on the skin and see whether there's any reaction before you keep on giving more. So you always need to test for allergy first and give a little quantity first and then you continue. So Star, you need to go to our Facebook group. You need to go through our guide session on complementary feeding. It is so important to understand complementary feeding. It's so important to understand the principles behind it. Because right now you're given so many things, we don't know which of them your child may be reacting to, or maybe it's not a reaction, we don't know. So we have to be careful. And I hope you're also not giving any drugs at the same time. Because obviously for your child to be passing so much to is at the stool watery or normal stool, you didn't say that, but that's also important. But it's so important that you do your complementary feeding right and the quantity as well. So when you're starting complementary feeding, breastfeeding is still the number one food for a 6-month-old. It's still breast milk, 80%. So complementary feeding is just 2 meals and just about 25 meals or 50 meals a day. So 2 of that. So you don't need to rush plenty of the complementary food. The breast milk is still the most important food for a 6-month-old. You are only gradually adding. So there's no rush and there's no hurry. You are only gradually introducing them. And so when you are starting them, you give a little at a time. So for the first time, we just expect you to give like 2 spoons or two. So just try. Make sure your baby can even take them. Make sure your child is not allergic to them. And if the child is finishing 2-3 spoons, then you can increase it to 5. And that is out. And then the same thing with the food. You do one meal at a time. So your first milk, you can just give only the milk, your pap and your breast milk, and see whether your child is tolerating it. Then the next time, if you want to try the formula, you can just add only the formula with the pap, and don't add anything else, and check that your child is not allergic to the formula you want to be adding. But you don't really need a formula. I hope you know that. You can always use your own breast milk as well. Then if you want to now add the peanut butter, then you can try other food. You have to be careful, and you have to be gentle, and you have to gradually increase. Don't do too much mixture. And that's why I always recommend that some of these series that most of you buy that have everything. They have the series, they have this now, they have everything. It's not the first kind of cereal you should give to a 6-month-old when you're starting complementary food, because you will never know which of those mixture your child is going to be allergic to. So always go for something you can do, and you can do one of them. So if your child is taking each of them separately and your child is not allergic, yes, you can now mix them together. So I'm suspecting maybe that is what is happening to your baby. Okay, next question. Oluwamayo Mikun, 22 months old with knuckling on the left leg. Okay. You need to see a doctor. We need to see the so there are some kind of knock-knee, K-leg, bow leg, whatever name you call them, that are just within normal. Sometimes some family tend to have this, bow leg. It just runs with their family, and most of the time, as the children grows older, it will just stretched out and straighten out. So we don't worry. But there are some that are so significant that we can say that means there's something wrong. Maybe there's rickets, vitamin D deficiency, or there's some also even orthopedic conditions like Blount disease that can make the legs to be abnormal. So we really need to see the child. That's number one. We need to check. We need to take history, look at the child, look at how the curvature, bad it is, and all that. And then we can now advise, is it something that we can treat? Is it something the child needs to see an orthopedic doctor for? Or is it even something nothing to worry about, like it's just a familiar thing that is going to resolve with time? So, but I'll recommend seeing at least a pediatrician first, and we can take it up from there. So, Oluwamayo Quincy asking, sorry, your this thing just disappeared. Oh, why is it? All right. Okay, considering the fact that we may not have access to a variety of vitamins. What do you mean you may not have access to a variety of vitamins? If your children are eating all different food, they will get all the vitamins, okay? Fruits, veggies, they will get all the vitamins from there. So we don't recommend multivitamins. We prefer you eat your vitamins than to take the tablets, because all those vitamin tablets and all that, when they are making them, you are not only taking vitamins, you are taking every other thing. You are taking preservatives, you are taking all the things they have to use to compound it, to make it stable, to put it in a bottle for you to drink and all that. Unless your children are so fussy with food and they are not eating well, yes, you have to give them vitamins. In those cases, at least it's better than nothing. But if your children can eat their vitamins, it's better they eat it. Let them eat the oranges rather than taking vitamin C tablets. Let them eat the vegetables, But like I said, that's the best. But sometimes the best is not always feasible for some people. But if your children are not eating their fruits and veggies, then fine, you can give them vitamin. And vitamin is over the counter. We don't need to prescribe it. Just go and get it yourself. It's vitamins are one of those over-the-counter medication. You don't need a prescription. Just follow whatever they say. This is the dose for a 1-year-old. This is what will give you and they normally write the equivalents that the vitamin is giving you based on what is expected for the child's age. But remember, your children are still eating, and those food are also going to give them vitamins. Most usually for the water-soluble vitamins, vitamin B and vitamin C. Most of the time, the children will pass out any excess to give them. But vitamin A, D, E, K, which are the fat-soluble vitamins, they can be overdosed. So you need to be very careful with those ones. All right. What's the cause of urticaria? Urticaria just means a rash from allergic reaction. So that is the meaning of urticaria. So usually you have this like a swelling kind of a rash, and usually it means there's an allergic reaction, it's an allergic response kind of a rash. Okay, I think that's the best way for me to describe it. And so the most important thing is what is causing the allergy and how do you get rid of it. So, and there are different type of it. There are different, you can react to virtually anything under the heaven. People can react to water. Some people react to hot water. Some people react to cold water. Some people react to food. Some people react to drugs. Some people react to cream. Some people react to insect bites. So there are millions of things people can react to. So the most important thing is a child has urticaria or whatever. We want to figure out what is it, what is causing it. And the most important thing is to avoid that. That's all. That's the solution. There's no special treatment for it. Just avoid the trigger first. But sometimes the itching is bad, the rash is bad. Sometimes we give you anti-allergy medications to kind of calm it down, to reduce it, the itching, or to reduce the rash and all that. But the most important thing in the scenario is to identify what it is that is causing the urticaria, and hopefully hope it's something that you can stop or avoid. So if you're not sure what is causing it, then you have to see a pediatrician. Sometimes you even want to see allergy doctors. There are allergy specialists. They can do some what we call a test, like allergy tests. They can test your child for all the common allergens and all that and figure out what is causing it, So it's sometimes can be very difficult to know, but it's important to know. For example, if your child is allergic to milk, your child may react to everything that contains milk, everything. So you may need to know that, or if it is fish. So that's why it's important to know what it is and avoid it possible. So you need to figure it out and you need to see a doctor. Usually, the word urticaria is not a parent word. So it's usually a doctor that uses that kind of a word. So I'm believing that you must have seen a doctor, because for you to use the word urticaria, somebody must have told you that. So that's very important. Oluwamayo Mikun, it's like you came today for me. What are the consequences of not doing EBF? What are the consequences? Okay, let me say the consequences is the fact that you lose all the benefits of EBF. Okay, that is it. So the benefits, because I try to, it's a little bit difficult to answer some question like this, really. But the best way to answer it is to say that if you don't do something, you lose the benefits that come with it. It does not mean the child is going to die or anything like that, but what are the benefits of exclusive breastfeeding? That's what the child is not going to get. So, for example, children who are not exclusive breastfed are prone to having recurrent infections. They are prone to having the kind of urticaria you talk about, because when you give them formula, some children are allergic to cow milk protein and all that. They're going to react to it. So they're going to have allergies, whereas they're not likely going to have allergy to their own mother's milk, And when you're a mother, all the protection you have, all the things you are protected against, you pass it to your baby through breast milk. That is the most important thing about breastfeeding, on which any other product cannot replicate. No matter how much they try, they can't pass antibodies that are very specific to you. The same thing everybody is taking for formula. Everybody is taking the same thing. Whereas your breast milk is custom made for your baby. In other words, it is custom made for your baby only. Every mother's milk is different. And your milk is even different from one time to another. Okay, even when your baby is 1 month, when your baby is 5 months, the kind of milk you produce is different. The constitution is varies. It's because it's custom made, and it is based on you and what you have faced, and it's passing on to your baby to protect your baby and all that. You are not going to get that from formula. The only thing you're going to get from formula is food. Your baby's tummy will be full, and your baby will gain weight. Your baby will grow. But all those protection from allergies, from infections, even we find out that the brain development in children who are breastfed is better than those of children who are formula fed. All those things you're not going to get it from formula. So the consequence of not doing exclusive breastfeeding is losing the benefits. And for those of us in Africa where some people cannot even do formula properly, it's expensive. I mean, how many people can afford to buy all those things? And those babies have to take them maybe 3 a week or so. So most mothers cannot afford that. So in the process of trying to stretch it, they over dilute the milk, they over dilute the formula. Then they are using water that is not water water that is not properly, that is not clean, that is not possible. So the child is going to have diarrhea, then the child is going to have infections, then the child is going to. So some of us in Africa, we lose our children. Of course, abroad people, they have, they have water, they have formula and all that. So this is all those other benefits they're not going to get here. But in Africa, especially in sub-Saharan Africa, where we don't even have good water, people are poor, they can't even afford to buy enough formula and another, then the children is going to have malnutrition, they're going to have infections, so the best thing is to actually breastfeed, and it's cheaper, safer, and all around best for the baby, also for the brain development. So that's that. So I hope I've answered that question. But if you want to know more about that, next month, August 1 to 7, we'll talk more about breastfeeding. Okay, Kafila is saying my baby is grunting as if she needs to pass bowel. You mean pass stool, open a bowel, but it's not forthcoming. How old is your baby? Kafila, always start with the age of your baby. She keep on grunting, having temperature, not looking happy. If your child is having temperature, you have to take the child to the hospital. What's the temperature? Did you use a thermometer to check it? You have to do that first as well. So I hope you have. Shifa girl, my 4-year-old daughter doesn't want to participate in class activities. Even to greet her teacher is a problem. She's very active at home. When you say active, what do you mean? Is she talking? Is she interacting? Does she have friends? Because those are the kind of things I want to know about your 4-year-old who is not participating in school. I want to know, is she like shy, social anxiety, or should we be worried about autism? So I really need to know what you mean by she's active at home. What does she do? Does she talk? Does she play with other children? Does she have friends? Does she interact with other people? Is it a problem only in school? And sometimes it may be easier because sometimes parents, we're used to our children, we don't see some things that are wrong. It is until they go to school that the teachers begin to pick out these things, and parents don't see them. And some of us in Lagos especially, we don't see our children. We go Mondays 8 to 5, your children are in bed by the time you come back home. So you only see them on weekends. So sometimes you are not always sure what they do or what they don't do. So if a teacher is worried about a child, I will be worried about the child, because the teacher sees that child 8 hours a day. And the child is not the only child in class. So the teachers can compare the child to so many other children in class, and they can see the difference. So teachers are our next most important professional when it comes to picking up developmental issue. Parents obviously are number one, but sometimes some parents mix those things, then teachers are number two. So if a teacher is worried about your child, I will take it very seriously, and I will want to make sure that there's nothing wrong. Your question is not very specific, so but think about all those things I'm asking about. Your child talking, does your child have friends, your child interacting with other children? Those are the important things. You want to be sure. If the child just doesn't want to participate because she's shy, or then that's a different thing. Just need to encourage her. But if there are more going on, then I will look into it. Usually teachers will not bother you with the fact that your child doesn't want to participate in things, because they know some children are not always forthcoming, and all that. They know how to deal with that themselves. So if a teacher is worried about your child, then I will be worried. Just general advice. Okay, Facebook. 3 months old baby are sudden the regular rashes between the neck folds. Okay, usually the rashes in between neck folds, we call them intertrigo. They are mostly fungal infection. They are the only one that tends to occur within skin folds. So it's very important that you wash in between skin folds. Most of us don't take note. We just wash like that. You have to open the skin fold and wash it and dry it, and then apply cream around it. And you must keep it dry always. Usually children that have skin folds, they're usually the fat ones. And so they have folds around the neck, around the armpits, their thighs and all that. You need to open it up and you need to wash it properly, because dirt tends to accumulate in there, and then it tends to have infections. So if the child is having rashes already, the child needs to be treated. So you have to take the child to the hospital. They have to treat that one first. But to prevent future episodes, that is what you need to do. All right, I'll take one more question on Instagram, and I'll go back to Facebook. All right. My 2-month-old baby has been grunting the whole day. Okay, I think I've answered this question. She feels so uncomfortable. She's 90% breast milk, 10% formula. You have to take the child to the hospital. The only reason why you have to take the child to the hospital is because of the temperature. If a 2 months old, any child less than 2 months, 2 months old and below, if they are ill, even if it's as simple as they are not looking happy, you need to take them to the hospital. They are very vulnerable. They don't give too many signs. They don't give you big signs like the older children. So for newborn babies, for babies less than 2 months old, we always classify them as urgent issues, no matter how minor what they seem to have is. So if your baby is running temperature, 2 months old, you have to go to the hospital. That is as simple as that, because we need to check the baby. Because don't assume it's everything is malaria, because I think one of our ATP members lost a baby because everybody think every fever is malaria in Nigeria. Sometimes they shouldn't have sepsis. Sometimes they have something very serious. We have to test. We will not know it's malaria by just saying, "Oh, it's fever, it's malaria." No, especially for babies, newborns, less than 2 months old. You don't make that assumption. And some people even just will self-medicate those babies. Please don't self-medicate 2 months old, 1 month old. Don't try it. Just take them to the hospital, preferably an hospital with a pediatrician, not even just any hospital, because some of the doctors that are in general practice, they are not very confident or comfortable handling babies. So some of them will also do the same thing and just treat the children for malaria, and then they'll start rushing to the pediatrician when things are out of hand. So please, any little symptom in those tiny babies, 2 months old and below, we take it very seriously. So you have to take the child to the hospital. They must test the baby, all right? Know that it's not sepsis. If they test the baby is fine, hey, then we can relax. But until we do that, we cannot make assumptions, because that may be the only sign the child is ever going to give us, and that's it. So, and the earlier we start treating it, the better. If we mix it, sometimes we're too late. So you have to take this baby who is 2 months old, who is having fever. That child has to see a pediatrician today. You have to take baby to the hospital now. So for the grunting and all that, the formula feeding can contribute to it. If the baby passes the stool and the stool is soft, then it's fine. Some babies do all those grunting, but there's really no problem. The stool will still be soft, but some are actually constipated, especially if they're on formula. So that is why there's no reason why you are doing 10% formula. Just do your 100% exclusive breastfeeding. Do 100%. There's no need for formula at all. So if you can do 90%, you can do 100%. There's no much difference there. All right. So I hope that's helpful, Kafila. But I really want your business to go to the hospital. Let me know how it goes. All right. Somebody is asking on Facebook, what's the danger in a child swallowing milk teeth? Maybe should not swallow teeth too, because the teeth can go and puncture things. Now it's a sharp object. So if you think your baby has swallowed the teeth, you have to go to the hospital. We will do an X-ray. We will know where it is, and we'll figure how it will come out. But sometimes you just assume the baby may not have swallowed nothing. So, but it's better to go to the hospital first. We can always see teeth in X-rays, so it's easy to do. So we do an X-ray and we can look for where the teeth is staying in the tummy and how to get it out. Blessing, good evening, Ma. My baby, I've been having running nose since yesterday. Difficulty with breathing when she's sleeping. Okay, she's 2 months old. Temperature is normal. Should I bath her twice daily? No, once a day is fine. She does not wear cap, but has a lot of hair. It's not compulsory for your baby to wear cap. The only thing I'm worried about in your baby is difficulty in breathing. If a child is having difficulty with breathing, I want to see that baby. I want the pediatrician to see the baby, because we need to be sure. Okay, even though some of you call difficulty in breathing, noisy breathing, difficulty in breathing, sometimes mothers are not sure the difference. But if a child is having difficulty in breathing, that child has to be in the hospital. There are some things we call emergencies or like life-threatening. There are ABC. Those are the ABC. So if anything is blocking the airway, A is for airway. If anything is blocking the airway of a child, something is in the nose, blocking the nose, something is in the airway, it's an emergency. That child has to go to hospital. The child swallow something, inhale pin, foreign body or anything blocking the airway, it's an emergency. That child has to go to the hospital. If anything is affecting B is for breathing. If anything is affecting the breathing of a child, it's an emergency. The child has to be in the hospital. The child is breathing too fast, the child is not breathing well, the child is not breathing at all, it's an emergency. B is for breathing. Then C is for circulation. Those are the ABC thing that we worry about. Circulation means the child is so weak or collapsed in shock. There's no blood flowing as much. That is it. So there are some things that once it's happening, there's no solution until we get to the hospital. We have to see, and we will always be worried. Doctors will always be worried about a child that's having ABC issue, airway problem, breathing problem, circulation problem. Those three, there's no home anything. That is an hospital. So for a 2-month-old who is having difficulty with breathing, I want you to see a doctor, and very fast too, so that they can check. They may now check and say this is not difficulty in breathing, maybe it's noisy breathing, but I'd rather you go to the hospital and they tell you, okay, it's fine, maybe it's okay, then you can sleep better at night than for us to miss something important. So please, blessing, take the baby to the hospital because of that difficulty in breathing. If it's just the cold alone, we'll answer that, but difficulty in breathing, the child has to go to the hospital. Okay, Mom Rebecca said, do I need to treat malaria for my 5-month-old when I notice mosquito bites on his body? No, you don't. So you don't treat mosquito bites. We treat malaria. All right. So malaria is, every mosquito bite does not mean malaria. Okay. Number one, if you have listened to my podcast on malaria, it is not every mosquito that can cause malaria. Let's start with that. It's not every mosquito that can cause malaria. There's only what we call Anopheles mosquitoes that can cause malaria. And even for the Anopheles mosquito, it is not all of them that can cause malaria. It has to be the female Anopheles mosquito. In other words, so if your baby is bitten by male Anopheles mosquito, your baby is not going to have malaria, even though your baby has mosquito bites all over. So your baby has to be bitten by a female Anopheles mosquito. And it has to even be a female Anopheles mosquito that has bitten somebody that has malaria. In other words, that mosquito must be carrying malaria parasites. So if the mosquito is not female, it's not carrying malaria parasite, your child can be bitten by that mosquito, but your child is not going to have malaria. So I'm trying to explain all that grammar to explain to you that you don't have to treat mosquito bites. You treat malaria. So, but we don't want your baby to be having mosquito bites to start with, because if your baby is having mosquito bites, there's also a possibility that your baby will be bitten by a mosquito that is carrying malaria parasites. So let your baby sleep under nets. Okay, your baby must sleep under net, not just ordinary net, so the one that is long-lasting insecticide treated nets. So that is the appropriate net for your babies. If you live in Nigeria and live in Africa where there's a lot of mosquito, you must make sure your baby sleep under net. In the evening time, most of the mosquito, they don't bite throughout the day. That's another thing you need to know. They bite actually from around that 7 p.m. to like early hours in the morning. So they bite. So the most important time to protect your baby against mosquito bites is from 7 p.m. So when you want to carry your baby in the evening, outside your living room and all that, let them wear long sleeves. If those onesies are good, the one that will cover their legs and cover their hands, very lovely. So it will reduce the chances of mosquito bites. Then when you want to put them to sleep at night, let them sleep under the nets. So that will reduce the mosquito bite. So you don't need to treat your child because the child has mosquito bite. You have to wait until the child has fever and every other sign of malaria before you will treat the child. Okay, so I hope that's helpful. Good evening, dog. God bless you. Thank you. Please, my son of 13 months old has fever last night. I gave him Brewston, and this morning he has been okay. What else can you do? You don't need to do nothing. The child is okay. You said the child is okay, so you don't need to do anything. It's possible for children to have fever once like that. It could just be that they are even hot. It just could be the environment and all that. Because if the child is sick, giving your paracetamol or ibuprofen will not stop the fever. It will come back. Okay, it will reduce it, but it will come back. So if your child has fever, you give paracetamol, and the fever never come back again, it's not really something to worry about. Because if the child is really sick, then that fever is going to come back again. All right, sorry, my Instagram is blocking my view. Okay. Yeah, your child is not having any fever, so don't treat. That's fine. Just watch, but please stop that mosquito bite. So let's not fight. My baby is 1 year and it's not walking. No need to worry. If your child cannot walk by 18 months, that's when I will worry. So for now, just like every other person, we all don't do things at the same time. We are not all, there's a range. So 50% of babies will walk at 1 year, but some will walk before 1 year, 7 months, 9 months, they're already walking. But some will not work until they are 15, 16 months. Everybody is fine. There's nothing wrong with anybody. It's just we all do things a little bit at different times. But I will begin to worry if by 18 months your baby is not working. So there's no reason to worry. All right. The first just say I should attend to our question. Did I jump anybody's question? Okay, if I jump your question, can you please ask the question again? Because I can't see any question I jumped. I assume you've written this before. Oh my goodness, it's already past 7. I didn't even see the time. All right, it's time to go home. Yes, I think we've answered everybody's questions, hopefully. Okay, Instagram, there's still one more. Oluwai Mayomikun has come for me today. Ear discoloration in newborn, something like eczema. I need to see it. I need to see the hair discoloration because if I don't see it, I won't be able to give an advice. Okay, so was your child born with that hair discoloration or is it something that is new? And if it is new, you say a newborn baby. So we really need, if it's a newborn, how old is this newborn? When did the discoloration happen? Because babies are born with birth marks and there's nothing wrong with that, but they will be born with it. So if it's something that happens after the baby has been born, we really need to know. We need to say. So if you don't mind, I hope you're on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, take a picture of the hair, put it on our Facebook group. I will look at it and I will give you my opinion on that. Okay, Shifega say she's stuck, she just well. She has okay, fine. If she's doing all that, then no need to worry. So I guess maybe she's just not, maybe she's just shy in school and all that. But keep an eye on her and just let the teacher keep an eye on that. But there's no reason why your child would not want to participate in school. Anyway, I'll leave that to the teachers to sort out. So if you're not worried and the child is doing everything else, then that's fine. All right. Somebody say we have not been seeing my child's teeth with CP 7 years number since okay, you don't see the teeth when okay, you're the one asking about your child swallowing teeth. So your child had teeth and the teeth have come out, but you didn't say it. Okay, I've answered that question. Maybe you left when I was answering that question. If your child has cerebral palsy, number one, you need to be seeing us. You need to be seeing pediatric neurologist or developmental pediatrician regularly. You need to be going for what we call CP clinics. So I hope you are doing that. If you are doing that, that's where you should ask this question because if your child has teeth and the teeth are coming out and you're not seeing it, you need to say something is wrong. You need to see. So we need to be sure the child is not swallowing them, and we can do X-ray, like I said, to figure out where the teeth are, so that they can answer the question. I mean, we can figure it out. I'm curious how come you don't say, but I hope it's not that the child is having dental decay, like teeth decay, like the teeth themselves are destroyed. But if the teeth are actually coming out, you should be able to say it. Really, I'm surprised you. Because you feed your baby all the time, you will be noticing when things are happening and all that. Maybe you need to ask whoever is the main caregiver, especially for a child with cerebral palsy, who is always needing a lot of care. So I'm really curious what is going on. But no worries, we can do X-rays and look for the teeth. If we do X-ray and we can't find the teeth in the tummy, that means there's nothing to worry about. If we see it, we will tell you what to do after that. We have to figure a way out together. Sometimes it's possible the baby may have swallowed it and passed it out in the stool safely without any issues. That would be lovely. But if not, then we need to know what is going on. Yeah, we just really need to know what is going on. It's a very unusual scenario. All right. No, it's not right for the child to be swallowing the teeth. You have to, it's not right. It's not right at all. So that's why you need to see your doctors and ask those questions. All right, my time has gone. My time has gone. I need to go home now. Jayola said, I'm just coming home. Don't worry. Just post your question on Facebook, on our Facebook group. Okay, you said you monitor the last one and swallowed it. When it was, if you are monitoring something and you try to bring out it, how were you looking at it and you tried swallowing it and you didn't take it out? I mean, I'm just curious, really. I mean, it's just a curiosity question because I'm like, if you are monitoring it, you see the child spit is out, then you should take it out by yourself. And you know, your children with cerebral palsy should also be seeing the dentist as well. They ideally should be seeing dentists every 6 months as well, because they need to monitor their teeth as well. So if you notice the teeth is already coming out, then you should be more careful. You know the children cannot talk, they cannot and do all those things. So you should be more careful in making sure they don't tend to swallow their teeth. I know it's a little bit tricky, but if you maybe, well, just see a pediatrician first. Let's do that X-ray. Let's know where all the teeth are. Let's be sure they've all gone out of the system, and then hopefully we can give you more advice. And I think you need to see the dentist as well. But once the teeth are loose, then maybe that's when you should go to the dentist. They can take it out so that the child does not have to swallow them. So there are many ways around all these things. To be honest, I've had many children with cerebral palsy, and nobody has ever told me about the children swallowing teeth. So that's why I'm really kind of confused about your own case, because I see a lot of children with cerebral palsy. That's my field, and parents don't complain about that. So yeah, but there's always first time for everything. All right, thank you everyone so much for listening. Thank you so much for joining me. I will see you again hopefully on Thursday, where I'll be doing ATP hour, discussing the second part of first aid treatment for home first aid care. So for our children. Sorry, I couldn't do it last week, but I'll do it this week. Have a wonderful evening and good evening. Bye. 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 Bye.